Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. We're going to call the meeting to order. This is the CRA board meeting on Tuesday, June 11th at 6:30 p.m. We'll begin the meeting with an invocation by board member Woodrow Hay and followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. If you'd please rise.
Let us pray. Most gracious and eternal Father, we thank you for this opportunity to serve this community. We ask that you bless this CRA board, staff. We pray that you would be in the midst of all of our decisions, that it will be for the betterment of our city and for the citizens of Boynton Beach. Thank you, dear Father, for this upcoming Father's Day. We pray, Father, that you will honor all fathers. Let them be recognized as they should be. Hold them in the hollow of your hand. Continue to lead them and guide them, that they may be responsible for what they have put in place and position to do. Father, we give you all the honor. We give you all the praise. In our Savior's name we pray, and all God's people said, Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Hay. Do we have roll call, please?
Here. Here. Here.
here.
Here. Yes.
Here. Thank you. That takes us to item 4, legal request for executive session. That has been canceled this evening. There will not be an executive session. So we'll move on to agenda approval. Any additions, deletions, or corrections to the agenda?
Yes, Chair.
Okay.
I would like to amend 14B and add not only the consideration of independent legal service for CRA, but also the issuing of an RFP for legal services. Also, I would like to pull under consent item D, and I would like to comment on some of the information-only items as well.
That was B as in boy?
No, D as in dog.
D as in dog.
Would you like to comment on what?
The informational items, when we get to that, I do have a couple quick comments.
Oh, yeah, no problem. We'll get to that.
Okay.
Anything else? Is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So move.
Second.
The most second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So the motion is approved. Informational items disclosure by board members and CRA staff. We'll start with Mr. Buchanan. We'll start down your end.
No conflicts, contexts, or relationships, and nothing else to report.
Mr. Casello?
Just that we had the opportunity to go over to the Civic Center last Friday in honor of the World War II vets who served in France, and they received the medal. It was pretty touching to look into those faces of the 15 veterans that served our countries, and it makes it possible for us to sit up here. So, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Merker?
Yes, please. The word touching also applies to what I saw. And what I saw on June 8th, Saturday, the Habitat for Humanity, the faces, the expressions, and the dialogue that I was fortunate enough to have with the people who are moving in, wanting to move in, and the camaraderie of all these people willing to work for a cause and a purpose. I found that totally touching and respectful, and I thank you.
Commissioner Hay?
Not much to report. I don't have any to disclose as far as conflict, but I would like to say I enjoyed my grandson and in-laws and my daughter this past week. We had a great time in Orlando. And if you're going to go to Disney, please take a hat and be prepared to stand in long lines. Thank you.
Commissioner Fitzpatrick?
The most CRA-related thing in the last month was I talked to a constituent who was greatly concerned about loitering on CRA property in the heart of Boynton, and he feels it's a big detriment. And I think it's something we should look into to cut down on that in the future. That's all.
Okay, thank you. I've had a constituent complain about that same thing to me, so I don't know. It's a touchy situation because you're on public property. It's hard to tell people they can't stand there, but you're right. It does a lot of people are disturbed with that. Board Member Kara George.
Yes, I want to disclose that I did meet with Mike Campbell from the Community Land Trust and from Habitat for Humanity, South Palm Beach County. Under informational items, I want to thank God for being able to be up here after 2.5 weeks of illness, and about 90%. So I just want to thank everybody that was so helpful and so kind during that process. Power of prayer is very powerful. Additionally, I attended the kickoff for the Habitat's Builders Blitz this last Saturday, along with Commissioner Merker, and I had the opportunity to speak at that event, and that was an honor and a privilege, and the progress that Habitat is making is tremendous. And once again, I encourage all board members to volunteer. Vice Chair Hay and I have volunteered. I'd like to see a few others out there to volunteer on some of these homes. The progress that is being made is substantial, and kudos to the two builders that are building 2 homes this week. In 1 week, they are building 2 homes that will be completed by next Saturday, and we've all gotten the invitation to that event for the dedication of those homes, and I hope everybody can attend next Saturday. And those 2 companies are Current Builders and Pat Licata Construction. And you might be familiar with Current Builders since they built a little project called Las Ventanas for Epoch Properties. They're pretty substantial, and for them to take the time for them and all of their subcontractors to volunteer and do this work for Habitat for free is a major contribution to this project, and the same goes for Pat Licata Construction, local here in Boynton. Both are quality individuals that care about their community, and those companies should be commended. Next, I want to ask everyone to pray for my pastor. Pastor Cheney is back in the hospital, and it's a tough battle. And I really would like everybody to pray for him. It's not easy what he's going through. It's not easy for his family. So I do ask that you pray for him. Last, I want to thank Ed Harris. When I was getting better, my first day of being able to be vertical instead of horizontal, Ed did a gospel concert, and he pulled out all the stops. There were Grammy Award-winning gospel groups there. Ed, of course, got to sing along with a bunch of songs, which I felt kind of bad. Boynton United was featured as the United Voices of Boynton, and I normally sing with them, but I just didn't have the energy, and nobody wants to hear music that's being coughed through. So I sat in the audience, and I missed the last 2 acts because I just was getting real weak and had to go home and take some medicine. But I want to thank Ed for putting that on. That was not a small task. He had groups from all over the country as well as all over Palm Beach County, and the group that stole the show was from Pahokee. They were called In the Spirit, and they had a guitar player that, if you've heard Albert King, B.B. King, Eric Clapton, this guy was in that league. He dazzled. And everybody in the crowd was like, wow, that guy can play, and it was very uplifting, and the amount of work and time that Ed put into that, I just want to say thank you. And that concludes my remarks.
Yeah, I would just add that I was appreciate that Board Member Costello was at the Veterans thing with me there on last week, and I tell you, it's something to see. We got men coming up there that stormed the beaches in France, men that were born in 1917, 1918, in their 90s, and to see them come up and finally get the recognition they deserve is really, I'm glad that our city is doing that kind of an event. We're the only city in Palm Beach County, I think, that is doing that much for the veterans. So it's very great. And I did stop by Sunday morning at the Habitat to go through the 2 houses that are being built and all the work that's going on. It was really great, and see all that happening. So I look forward to their completion this Saturday. It's going to be great. Staff, would you have anything?
Yes. Thank you, Chairman Taylor. I want to introduce a new member of our staff, Tracy Smith-Kofi. We're lucky to hire her from Lake Worth CRA, and she also, prior to Lake Worth CRA, worked on Antique Row, and she produced an event annually there for Antique Row, and where they closed Dixie Highway for the evening on the avenue, and they had a wonderful event there. She's produced a number of events in Lake Worth, and she's working with the merchants. She hit the ground running, and she already produced a 2-page ad her first month for the merchants, and she's busy producing her next page, 2-page ad for the merchants. She isn't shy, so she's going out there and meeting everyone and helping us to make Pirates a much bigger event that will reach all the way to the marina this October. So I want you to help us welcome her. She's a great addition. I'm very happy to have her. Thank you. And I wanted you to know that I will be on vacation from June 26th to the 5th. I will be somewhat incommunicado, so I'll be out of the country, but I will. You may be able to reach me by phone. I just don't know everywhere I'll be that it will be reachable by phone, but I will be back, I think.
Who's in charge in your absence?
Mike Simon will be in charge.
Thank you.
Did you get that memo that all vacation are canceled?
We're a GPS tracking system.
To our new member of the CRA, welcome aboard. We look forward to working with you. Welcome aboard. Okay, that takes us to
Catch a Dance on June 21st, a week from Friday. We were trying to figure out a way to do some events during the summer. We know we can't do them outdoors. The weather, the bugs, the heat, they all working against us. So we are going to the Women's Club. We have the upstairs. We have a 16-piece orchestra. There will be a table set up with a buffet dinner. We'll have a cash bar, and we have professional dancers from the Fred Astaire Dance Studio who will be doing demonstrations and dancing with people, teaching them how to do all of the different dances that the orchestra will be playing. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I hope to see you all there. It's from 7 o'clock until 10 on that Friday, the 21st, and it's only $10, which covers your buffet dinner and the dance instruction and the band and everything. It's a deal. Should be a lot of fun. We have complimentary valet parking also, so no one has to cross Federal Highway. Don't want you doing that. Any questions?
Kathy,
Yes.
I just want to say thank you. This is another example of the CRA and Chamber working together. Everybody that's involved is a Chamber member, and they're all stepping up, and we're doing this cost-effective event. And kudos to Jim Gilbo and Chris Francois and to the folks at Fred Astaire and to the valet company and all that. Seriously, you did a great job already in the planning, and it's going to be a fun night.
It is. Good. Thank you all.
Thank you. Okay, it takes us to the consent agenda. Did anybody want to remove anything besides item D? If not, I'll have a motion to approve the consent agenda, except for with the exception of the item that's been pulled.
So moved approval except for item D.
Second.
Have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
So, is there a motion to remove item D from the table?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
So the motion is unanimous. Board Member Kara George.
Yes. The reason I pulled this is I was happy to see the adjustments and changes that they made, and I'm excited about this because it's a big improvement. If you take a look at Ralph and Rosie's, what it is today and what what Sherwin-Williams is going to have when they're done, it is going to be a vast improvement, and it'll take another eyesore out of the city and make it into a productive business. So with that, I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Show the motion unanimous. Takes us to informational items only. Item A is a public comments log. Any comments? Item B is media outreach and editorial coverage. Any comments?
Yes, Chair. I want to congratulate and thank Margie Walsh and the team. Once again, just a super job in the media outreach and getting the positive message out there, and I just want to say thank you.
Okay. Next is special events recap. Any comments there?
Yes. The last concert that we had, Kathy really had to work hard. And I will tell you, she dealt with more stuff that night than she did previously the entire season. And there's an expression that I've used for many years in property management that you cannot control stupidity, you just have to deal with the after effects, and I know Jim Knight has heard me say that several times. But that night she had to deal with the after effects of people's stupidity. And one of the things that was very glaring was Chuck Magazine not being there. And things that Chuck used to take care of with a finger and a look in his eye that got solved like that, either by police or by somebody else. Chuck had that talent of getting stupidity under control very quickly. And I just want to thank Kathy for her patience that evening in some trying situations. And I also want to thank our police for their efforts. We could have used another officer that evening. But I just want everybody aware of the fact that Pam's doing a great job, don't get me wrong, and risk management is in good hands. But we felt the loss of Chuck that night, and I know I wasn't the only one, and I just wanted to comment on that.
Next item is a budget meeting
Chair?
date. Oh, I'm sorry.
I would like to say something along those lines. I concur with Board Member Carrigeorge, but I would say that we really need to step it up with the dogs, people bringing their dogs, because there are people, and you know, I'm not saying anything disparagingly about dogs. I like dogs too, but I believe in a public arena where people are touching and coming close, it's getting out of hand. And I think police department did a good job, but I think we need to step it up and really enforce that a little bit better and a little more, get a little stronger with people, because it's out of hand, it's out of control.
Thank you. Next item is the budget meeting date. Any comments? Okay, we'll move on to public comment. Anybody wish to address?
Point of information, what's the budget date? Is it in August 27th or something?
August 27th at 6 at Intercoastal Park.
Okay.
27?
August 27th,
Anybody in the public wish to address the board on items not on the agenda may do so at this time. We ask that you give your name and address for the record. No one? Seeing none? We will move on to old business. Consideration of response to RFP for auditing services.
Susan Harris, Finance Director. The agenda item before you is the result of the Audit Committee's evaluation of 7 responses to the auditing services RFP. And the number 1 firm, Sanson, Klein, Hockamino, Tandick, and Gamara, was the CRA's auditors for the past 5 years, and again, they were the highest ranked qualified firm for auditing services. There were a couple of things that really made them rise to the top of the pack. One of them is that in addition to all the auditing standards that we have to comply with for local governments, the CRA also receives their money and spends their money as legislated by Florida State. And that's important when you go out and you look for an auditor. We look for firms that have experience with independent CRAs such as ourselves. And the audit firm Sanson Klein had the most CRA experience with independent CRAs. They audit Miami, Omni, Middletown. Miami, Southeast Overton Parkland. They have audited North Miami Beach, all with TIFs that are bigger than our own, in addition to the CRA. So they gain points there. Also, they were able, because there's no learning curve involved with us, they were able to reduce their annual fees somewhat, and that's very advantageous. And in addition to that, they gave us a blended rate of $110 an hour for any additional work that may be needed. And that's for partner, manager, supervisor, or whatever. So that's a very excellent rate that they held. They gave us that rate in the past, and they'll give it to us for the next contract. So we're asking the CRA board to approve the Stanson, Klein, Jacomino, Tandic, and Gamera as our auditors for the next 3 years, with a 1-year option for an additional 3 years, and have Vivian move forward with the contract. And in addition, Richie Tandup from our audit, he's the audit partner with the firm, is here in case the board wants to ask any questions.
Chair,
Yes. Chair George.
motion to approve Sampson Klein as our auditor and direct Vivian to draw up the contract.
Is there a second?
Second.
A motion is second. Discussion.
I have a
Yes, go ahead.
question. Is there some sort of audit policy where you're supposed to change auditors every 3 years or something for rotation, or so, for protection to catch things?
I'm not aware,
Chair?
but Susan could answer that.
No.
Is that a legal question?
No, she said no.
No.
I didn't hear.
But you do have to put it out for RFP after the period has expired.
Right.
That's the obligation.
One thing I'd like to mention in response to that's a really good question, is that I'm comfortable with the same auditors because although we have the same audit partner, the staff that's actually doing the auditing, the field work, rotates. So it's not the same people year after year.
Comment?
Yes, Mr. Merkel.
Thank you. People always, in their minds, question the length of time people serve in the private sector or in the public sector. Personally speaking, I believe that if a board is very satisfied, nothing has gone wrong, kudos to that firm for doing a wonderful job. And there's nothing wrong with continuing the service. If the commission is satisfied in this situation, if the CRA is satisfied, and that's all I can say. So,
Any other questions? I have a motion and a second. All in
Second.
favor?
Second.
Aye.
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 Motion is unanimous. Thank you. Next item is update on One Boynton LLC project.
Thank you, Chair. Right now, where we're at with this project is I haven't worked with legal on any conveyance documents because, as you know, Phase 1 was the law firm, and the law firm and the owner of the property of One Boynton have not been able to come to terms on what the cost of the land will be and how that deal will look. So until they come to terms, since that's Phase 1, I really don't want us to get into any cost of conveyance documents, similar to kind of like the high school where we spent a lot of staff time, both the CRA and the city has, on that deal. I think it's prudent for us to wait and see if they can get Phase 1 somewhat hammered out. And Jim Knight is here, who is representing
Yes, I
Cantor
saw him.
Peneluga, and he would like to speak to the board tonight and provide perhaps some more insight into that.
Mr.
Jim?
Knight?
Jim Knight, 740 Havana Drive, Boca Raton's my home address. I wasn't sure whether you have a home address or a business address. So anyhow, first of all, I want to thank you all for reaching out and putting your hat in the ring in the beginning. I mean, I know you stepped out on the line and so forth to make that happen when we tried to start this process here. As of as of this morning, we were on a little bit of a lifeline here. I've been speaking with Vivian, spoke to a few of the commissioners here and the mayor about moving this project forward, trying to get a push because we kind of hit a roadblock. And that roadblock basically was evaluation on the property. When the current owner purchased the property, the values are up here, the values today are down here. And so we're working, and we've reached out to the current owner to offer to pay appraised value for the property to move this forward, which we'd like to get done. There was a discussion that happened this afternoon between Howard Canner and Davey Camalier, which is, I think, a very good thing. I'm always positive to put the two owners together and try to make something happen. So that is moving forward. The law firm itself does have, because of all the employees and the number that they're putting in there, they are in a lot of parking requirements, a significant amount of parking requirement. And with that said, if anybody gets a chance, if anybody wants to come down and see their offices in Delray, you can see how their operation works and so forth. The good news is they continue to expand. They just opened up another state this past week, and so they're in one more state as well. They've occupied basically everything that they can down here, from spaces that they've leased to the old building. I don't know if anybody's driven by on Seacrest Boulevard by the hospital. They're back occupied in that building. I know it's tough with the parking, but again, they have a lot of people in each of their buildings. Coming back full circle with this, we're hopeful that we'll be able to move it forward. I mean, they are very excited. I can tell you that this is the only location where they look at building a building from the ground up. The parking is going to be a bit of a hurdle, so if there's anything, assistance that can help, whereas they will use the parking Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, after hours and weekend will be available. So you're talking about 300 parking spaces in a give or take 60,000 square foot building. And so that would be available to the public. So if there's anything creative that we can come up with, that would be very helpful. I know that since the last meeting, the brownfield, there's some changes that happened in the brownfield regulations and so forth, and they're really not allowed to be utilized as much anymore unless you have a true contamination or something like that on the site. And so that's something that came up here recently as well. I think we also would probably be helpful to reach out to the Business Development Board, the county, and even the state. If you happen to see the paper this morning, Governor Scott was in town yesterday. I think the company was Garda, if I recall correctly from the article this morning, that is expanding there in Boca. And I think there's things that can be done. The governor's pushing jobs. It's re-election time, not far away, and so forth. So any assistance that we can get from state, city, county, anywhere would be a big help in the boost to move this forward. And again, I appreciate everybody's efforts, and starting by putting the hat in the ring in the beginning. And if there's anything I can do, please holler at me as well. Thank you.
And just in form of disclosure, I want to say that I met with Jim Knight, I think last week it was, and he took me down. We toured the legal offices where the group that wants to move here, where they're operating out of Delray and Boynton. He took me there and showed me those places. And the reason I'm doing that, I'm trying to build a fire under both sides to try to get them to come together. I also met Mr. Camalier was in town a week ago. I had lunch with him and tried to get him moving on this project. I also met with Mr. Comparato from Renaissance and tried to see if I can interest him in what we're doing downtown. So I just want to know that I'm out there working both sides, all sides. I would love to see the ground break and something start coming out. So I just want everybody to know that I'm talking to these people. Mr.
Thank you. Let me do this disclosures too, please. I also met with Davis Canalar late May, and I also met with I forgot his name.
Prado?
Yes. So I'd like to say that. Also, what I'd like to say on a professional level, speaking to you, I just want the papers and the people to realize that when an operation this size does move forward, it does take time. There's always a snag here or there. But I personally am thinking very optimistically, positively, that the idea that Mr. Camalar and the law firm are still speaking is a positive. And as a commissioner, I also would like to reinforce and state that any assistance and positive thoughts that would be needed, I'd like to be there.
Mr. Casello.
Just one question. Is the stumbling block, if it's stumbling block, is the price of the land, is that what's the
It's been one of the stumbling blocks. It's that and the parking that we've got to work through. But they are going to meet, meaning the owner and David Camilleri are going to meet on Thursday, I'm told. And so that's a real good start. I mean, as of this morning, there was kind of the discussions hadn't happened, and we'd reached out to them a while ago. So whatever everybody's doing, we appreciate and think it will be a very exciting project. I remember working on something, a different type of use, but working on something here with this town, and it came about, and it was said it would never get done, and it's built and completed, and there's a lot of jobs there and so forth. So,
and we love you for it.
So I think it's great to do it again. It's always a pleasure working with the city of Boynton. Thank you.
I have a question. I was just trying to figure out how much for a parking space, how much square footage do you need with the ramps and all? I was kind of ballparking like 400 square feet per parking space, or what do you need?
I'm be honest with you, I'm a real estate broker. I know a little bit about construction. I do have my general contractor's license, but I'd hate to speak out of school. They have designed a building with the parking and so forth, and so they've laid that out on the parcel that they've prepared a site plan on. But it's not so much the land; it's the cost of it is going up. If there's any other ideas, though, if someone has parking, they don't mind. The parking doesn't have to be all below the building. They prefer it to be there, and it's a logical place because on the weekends and nights, that's where going to be a hub of activity and so forth. It'd be great to have public parking there as well. But I mean, if you just look at a raw piece of land and surface parked it, typically you get somewhere between 90 and 100 parking spaces per acre of land. But this is what we're looking at right now is roughly a 5-story parking garage and then 3 floors of office and maybe even 4 floors of office above that. Because their needs are growing. I mean, which is a great thing.
Thank you.
Chair.
Yes.
Jim, the BDB has also not only been active in new business recruitment, but they've also been active in business retention to keep businesses in the county, especially businesses of this size that are growing. I would encourage the parties to talk to either Gary or Brian or Kelly and see what the incentives that they can do for retention. I know they have some. I just haven't drilled down on them recently because of illness, but I would encourage them to do that, especially when you look at what the governor was in town, where a company that said they were going to do X amount of jobs and then did almost double that, and that's why the governor was so excited about that, because not only did they live up to what they said, they exceeded it by a very high margin in keeping jobs in this county. Granted, it was Boca, but I think there's some things that can be done there that might be able to help with some of that gap dollars. And if we can get some of that to coordinate it with either Gary or Brian or Kelly, anybody there that's willing to listen on the retention side, I think that's an avenue that we need to pursue.
I appreciate that. I actually have spoken with Kelly. I spoke with Sean in the office. I'm drawing a blank on his last name last week. And so we are pursuing that. And I like to say, granted it was Boca, I like to say, granted it's Boynton. I like to, Boynton is a great place to do business, and we look forward to working with you and making this a reality.
We can do the match.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's the other part of it.
We're working very hard at that because that's 200 jobs right off the bat, and if we can't put it there, maybe we can put it someplace else in Boynton, but we don't want to lose them.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you for that update. That takes us to item C, update on the Ocean Breeze West.
Mike Campbell's going to speak to you from Habitat. Sounds like a lot of you've kind of got filled in on this last weekend.
Excellent. Mike Campbell, the HFH SPBC CLT 181
That's what to say
Southeast.
Habitat, Mike.
Or Mike, just Community Land Trust would cover it,
we
too.
just need to know it's the CLT speaking today. I would like to thank Mr. Karageorge and Mr. Merker for coming out Saturday for the kickoff of the Blitz build. We have 2 homes under construction, and I must say the city has stepped up to provide us with an inspector all day Sunday, Saturday afternoon, all day Sunday, all day Monday, and most of the day today, so that we could accomplish the goals. And they did that at no expense to us, or to the CLT. So that was, tremendous for the city. Second thing, we have 12 homes under construction or completed. At this time, I know that the faith-based CDC have 3 homes ready for CO. I don't know if they've been CO'd at this point. Habitat has 3 homes with families in them. The 2 homes that will be completed this week will close next week on, and those 2 families, so there'll be 5 families in. But there are 12 homes, so we are ahead of the schedule that we had planned so far. We do have the faith-based CDC will be providing 2 more homes in that community, and those should go under construction in the next month or so, from what I understand. And then we have 5 structures that we're struggling with. In the original agreement, Habitat for Humanity was contracted to build 11 homes. The faith-based CDC was contracted to build 10 homes. The appraisals came in so low in October and November for the first 2 homes that the faith-based CDC felt like they had to relinquish half of the homes they were going to build because they couldn't supplement them with the dollars needed to complete them. So that leaves 5 homes at the, on the brink right now of how are we going to complete them. The CLT has not been able to find an affordable home builder to take on the project to make it affordable, such is the case with the faith-based CDC. And we approached Habitat to subcontract the 5 with them, and they're about $300,000 short on their fundraising goal to be able to accomplish that task. We will be approaching the city to ask if they would consider moving there's about $200,000 in down payment assistance that was awarded for the 10 homes for the faith-based CDC, if they would consider moving half of that over to the CLT for down payment assistance for these other 5 homes. These 5 homes have to be done at market rate. They have to be done for the 80 to 120, and they have to be able to have families who qualify for a bank loan in them. That leaves us $200,000 short, and we're looking for a way in order to meet that goal of $200,000. Not sure where it's going to come from at this point, but that is the number. There's $300,000. We believe we can get $100,000 from the city through the CDBG funds that were awarded already to the faith-based CDC, based on they were awarded on 10, and there are only 5 being completed. So that's where we sit today. Ahead of schedule right now. I don't foresee any problems, but we do have those 5 in the, leveraged.
Sure. Mike, I want to commend you for a job well done so far. I believe in the original agreement there were so many that was going to be low income and so many were going to be moderate income.
Correct.
With the impact of the CDC faith-based not being able to do the complete 10, I believe they're doing 5 now. How does that impact the number of moderate homes that was going to be built out of the 21 total?
Well, the minimum number of moderate income homes that had to be built were 6. And
I thought it was 10.
No,
6?
6 was the minimum.
Okay.
We were hoping to have 10. The 10 from the faith-based CDC would be moderate income. But from the information that we have received, the income level for the homes that the faith-based CDC were qualifying for did not meet the 80% market value, except for one of the 5 homes that they had out there. There could possibly be a second. So that's when the CLT questioned whether or not they could meet all the other market rates, because 3 of them weren't going to be at that 80% or above. That's when the CLT said, okay, we'll take those back and we'll find a new construction person and a new way to do this and get those in so that we meet those minimum qualifications set by the NSP guidelines in HUD. So there will be at least 6 homes for the 80 to 120 in that community.
Chair.
Go ahead.
Chair.
Mike, I want to commend you for a job well done so far. I believe in the original agreement there were so many that was going to be low income and so many were going to be moderate income. With the impact of the CDC faith-based not being able to do the complete 10, I believe they're doing 5 now. I just wanted to make one comment. You know, originally, this was a challenge in order to get this project off the ground.
Correct.
And I still stand on that. What I don't want to end up with, okay, is all of those 21, you know, being on the low end, because we know what that's going to cause 5 to 10 years down the road. Okay,
Correct.
We have to have that moderate homes in there to mix it in there to make it acceptable and what we want it to be for this community. I just want to make sure that we don't lose sight of that. Okay, and make sure that's done.
We have not lost sight of that. Our concern was that based on the information we were receiving from the faith-based CDC, that they were not able to complete that. So that's when the CLT stepped in and said, we will do this, and we will make sure that it is done and done correctly. But that's, again, where we come up with the shortfall.
Thank you.
Chair.
Board Member Merker. Next.
Well, first of all, I agree with Vice Commissioner Hay regarding the moderate middle income. I'd also once again like to thank you for the invitation. I also looking forward to moving forward with it. And last but not least, I didn't recognize you with the tie and the shirt, and you look good. Nice tie.
Thank you, Mr. Merker.
My pleasure.
Board Member Kerry George.
Yes. I want to point out a few things, and I'm disappointed in the faith-based CDC because several months ago they stood before us and were grilled by Commissioner Holzman, and they provided names of families that were ready to move in. And we have 3 homes of theirs that are completed that are waiting for COs, and the city is saying, well, we're waiting on faith-based CDC. For some reason, this is being held up. The other thing is these families, now that it's been several months, my interpretation of that is that they got tired of waiting and they went somewhere else. I want to point out also the HUD guidelines for the 80 to 120, which is the moderate income. For a family of 3, that range is an income of a minimum of $49,550 up to $74,280. What we're talking about here are school teachers. We're talking about entry-level firefighters, entry-level police officers. We're talking about nurses, technicians at the hospital. That's what we want in that community. That was the intent, was to have both low and moderate in there. For a family of 4, it goes from $55,050 up to $82,440. For a family of 5, it's $59,500 up to $89,040, and so on, all the way up to a family size of 8. These are the HUD guidelines that they are forced to follow for Palm Beach County. Those are the income ranges that we need to get in there for the moderate. Right now, there are 0 moderate income families in there. By the end of this week, correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, but we'll have 7 families in there and they'll all be low income, correct? By Monday?
Correct.
Okay. Now, I'm very disappointed in the fact that faith-based CDC, if you research their organization, they get 70% of their funding from the City of Boynton Beach CDBG funds and SHIP funds. Additionally, they got $200,000 less than 2 months ago in home buyer assistance for the 10 homes, which would have worked out to an incentive of $20,000 per home for those 10 homes. I would like to direct the commission to ask staff that oversees that for an accounting of those dollars, both from an operations standpoint with faith-based CDC as well as the $200,000, because there's a lot of money that's gone to those agencies, and the intent is to do good, and I support faith-based CDC. I have many friends on that board. It's a quality organization, but I'm very disappointed that they've dropped the ball on this and kind of stuck Habitat and the Community Land Trust holding the bag.
Commissioner Carriage, can I interrupt for a second? Understand that when the appraisals came in at about $50,000 less than they anticipated, they recognized that they couldn't do it. I mean, technically, they could have come to us today and said, oops, sorry, we can't do it. But they stepped up in December and said, this is a problem that we need to address. How can we address it? So,
But since that time, they came back and asked for $200,000 in home buyer assistance after December.
I believe that was earmarked prior to, I think it was actually earmarked in February of 2012 for them.
But awarded in February 2013. That's what, the meeting minutes of the meeting at the commission level showed that it was unanimously passed to give them the $200,000. And I want some accountability. And because Habitat never went after any CDBG funds, never asked the CRA for anything other than the land and to work with them on this community land trust. We made sure that these properties would not be slum and blight because we made sure that they can never be rented, like the old Boynton Terrace, which became such a slum and blight that the hurricanes improved it when they came through there and drove the families out. We made sure we had a vested interest. The city's put $400,000 in infrastructure in there for the roads, the sewers, the storm drains. We've got a vested interest to make sure that this stays a mixed income community. And so I'm all in favor of the $100,000, but I'm also very concerned in this market you have to incentivize those moderate income families because they can go elsewhere if there's not that incentive. The $20,000 that's going to be needed per home is actually going to end up being more like $30,000 that's going to be needed. And so I see a shortfall not of $200,000, but a shortfall of $300,000. And I know that Habitat's been raising money, but unfortunately you're not hitting the goals that you would like. And a lot of that is economy driven, but we've also had, Habitat's also had a tremendous amount of in-kind donations that don't show up in the bank account, but they show up in services rendered. This week is a prime example of that with Current Builders and Pat Licata. I'm just very concerned, and I would like to direct to the commission to have them look at where's that $200,000 that was given, what's being done with it, and also to take a good, strong look at the accountability, because we're funding an organization that dropped the ball, and we're funding it to the tune of $70% of their operating budget.
We could get the commission can ask the staff to get the CDC to come in and give us an update on where they're at.
We can do that.
Yeah, we'll do that. Anything else? No. Thank you very much for your input.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you.
Do we have to make that in the form of a motion,
No,
or is
it's
that
just
just
informational.
informational?
Okay. Takes us to consideration of funding the Wi-Fi project for Galaxy students. I believe Ms. Brooks has some comments.
Yes, this is a project that was started by the school district to provide internet access to children in low-income areas. And the new Galaxy is now going to be ready for the new school year. And they want to provide internet access for children at home so they could do their research and do their papers at home. And the parents could check Edline, which is, I wish I had that when my kids were that age. But so this is an idea where they came to the city initially and said, we'd like to provide you to pay for the Tropos units, which are on the FPNL poles, which will provide the signal. And the city would pay for the ruckus units, which go in the home, which is where the signal's picked up. And then the school board would provide refurbished computers into the homes. And then the service calls would be answered by Palm Beach State. So they've developed this kind of idea and this system. However, in reviewing the CRA plans and the statute, there's no legal nexus I can find to say that we should pay for this. There's nothing in the plan for students, for us to pay for students' things. We've been asked many times to pay for back-to-school projects and backpacks, and things like that. Every year we get asked to pay for things like that. And while they're very worthy projects, and of course they're great projects to do, and the digital divide is a fact in our country, and I recognize that, in fact, we're kind of behind in this in our country due to the cost of the internet. But the fact of the matter is there's no legal nexus for us to pay for this. It is not in a plan, and it's really a social service. And then in researching this, I found out that Comcast actually provides a service for families who get the free lunch program. And Comcast called me today because they saw the article in the Sun Sentinel that Ed Tia wrote, and they said, we not only do we have that, we actually provide computers for $150. And I handed it out to everybody, her email and all the backup. And their internet program is $9.95 a month. And while the child goes through her entire school career, that number goes up. It's flat. There's no equipment fee. There's no equipment rental. So for every child that's enrolled in Galaxy, this program would apply. They don't have to be on the free lunch program. The school board's program is only for children who are enrolled in the free lunch program. So this program covers every child in Galaxy. So Comcast program. So it isn't an alternative to having the city or CRA pay for it. And Comcast said they give this information to every child in the school system. So
Thank you.
I just got a quick
Board
question,
member.
man. Is this, obviously we have children on the lunch program there in other schools. Is that also available, like a,
Yes.
like a Citrus Cove or another grade school?
This is a nationwide program.
Nationwide program,
No.
so it's not just focused in on the Galaxy.
No.
Thank you.
Yes, Viv, I have a question. Is this a county school or a city school?
We don't have city schools. They're all county.
Okay, but that's my question, part of my ignorance of presenting it.
Yeah.
But the question I have, it's a county school. What is the county giving towards this school financially?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Right.
Isn't that a question mark?
Yeah.
I mean, that's, I think it's a worthy cause, but funding should come from all sources.
I think it's a really great public-private partnership what Comcast is doing.
But
And
that's not what I'm asking.
Right. Well, I think what the school is doing, they're providing tablets to the children, like an iPad type tablet. The children will not be taking those home, though. However, so what they want is the children to be able to study at home and access the internet, obviously. And a lot of children don't have the internet at home, and we know this. So this is it's a great program. It's a great price. That has been the problem with the digital divide in America is the cost of internet. Most of us pay a lot more than $9.95.
So you're saying what Comcast is suggesting does the job that the so-called other proposal is requesting, only for a lot less money?
Well, it's a lot less cost to us, or a lot less cost to the city.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
Board Member Hay.
Yeah, I just find it a little strange that the school would be offering a program like this and it's not available to every kid. My understanding that this is only the one that they're proposing only available to the free and reduced lunch students.
Correct.
And Comcast is saying that we have a program that will make it available to all kids of that school. So it makes sense to me, especially you talk about $150 for a computer, and that's a one-time cost, and then $9.95 a month for the service. I think when I look at the kids in school and I see every one of them with a cell phone, and cell phones certainly cost more than $9.95 for service a month, people have a tendency to buy what they want. And it's my feeling that from a CRA standpoint that we ought to look at the Comcast program. I know Connie of the school district, She has been pushing this because I've been in meetings with her. I'm not exactly sure what her motivation is, except that it makes her look good. There may be other reasons, but I just think from a standpoint of being effective and efficient, that the Comcast way to go. The other question that enters my mind is the service calls. Now, they're saying that Palm Beach State College will take the service calls, but that's one thing. The other side of the coin is who's going to go out and actually service the homes. If Palm Beach State College is already having challenges and problems, who's to call in a call and say, I have a problem with my computer, that's one thing. But getting the legwork out to the homes in Boynton Beach, I don't see that fitting. I don't see that coming together. Certainly, do you have any input on that as far as the service?
I questioned what you questioned. I don't know any more than what they put in the backup gave us. So I questioned the same thing. Who's going to go out when the router breaks or the the refurbished computer breaks? Where do they go? Who do they call? And who's going to come out? Comcast is a private company providing service to them. They have to come out, just like when you and I call. So that's
that magic 4-hour window.
Yeah.
Chair.
It goes on forever.
Board Member Kerr, George?
Yes. I want to get back to something. Everybody up here, some of us 2 or 3 times, have gone through Florida Redevelopment Association training. And Florida Redevelopment Association Training 101 hammers a phrase into your head by the time you leave that if it ain't in the plan, you can't do it. Now, this is not in our plan in any way, shape, or form. So this is something that is worthy. I do think the private sector through Comcast working with the school district, if those two can hook up, that's the way this should be done. The CRA should have nothing to do with it. And if we do get involved, we're going to get our you-know-what in a ringer, because the Auditor General is going to say, wait a second, when did you guys go into the social service business? Because you're not supposed to. And they're going to come back and they're going to say, have you read Statute 163 in its entirety? Have you looked at your mission statement? Have you looked at the FRA guidelines? And they're going to say, you're in violation. And they're going to say, you misappropriated over $46,000, and I don't want to be a party to that. So I'm going to go back to something that we all were taught, that we all have been through at least, some of us 3 times, some of us just once. But if it ain't in the plan, you can't do it. It's just that simple. And so I make a motion to deny CRA involvement in this program and to encourage Comcast and the school district to work together. If someone can relay that to Connie, I think that that's the best avenue to go. I do think it's a worthy thing, but I think that it needs to be done by the private sector, not by an entity that is not supposed to be doing this, period. So that's my motion.
Have motion and second. Any discussion? I just would say that, let me come to you, Mr. Cannon. Well, go ahead. I'll let you go first.
Okay. I just have one comment on it. It's obvious we cannot do it legally, but the purpose of it is well intended, and I don't care if Comcast charges 10 cents a month. There are going to be people, there are going to be homes with kids in it that aren't going to pay that. It's just that simple, and that's why the school, I think, has gone on this, has taken the approach they have. And of course, also when they started it in other cities and things like that, I don't think the Comcast program was available. But we all know that there are households out there that are not going to do the right thing for those kids. So that's the reason that the school board does this. I think it's with good intentions, and probably maybe some blend would be a way to do it, but it's all beyond our scope. But I just want to make that point.
Thank you.
That's why the school board does it.
Thank you. I just, Chair George took the words out of my mouth. I was going to talk about State Statute 163, which forbids it, and the fact that it's not on our plan, so we can't do it. So he just already, I won't reiterate that. So I do have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Show the motion is unanimous. Okay, that takes us to consideration of independent legal services for the CRA